Hello and welcome to another video lesson with Mr. Roman. Today we're going to be talking about review problems for quiz number 3. And in this diagram here, we want to find which angles in the diagram are going to be congruent. And the way you would start this would be first by finding the slopes of all the sides of the polygon. So here we can say the slope of the segment XQ would be 4 over 3. So this is going to be a positive 4 over 3 slope. From x to y is going to be a negative 1/3 slope. From z to w is going to also be a negative 1/3 slope. From z to, let's go ahead and call this point M here. From z to M, you're going to be going up 2, 4, 6, 8, and over 2, 4, 6. So here the slope is going to be 8 over 6, which you can reduce to 4 over 3. And then here the slope from W to Y is also going to be 4 over 3. So what that allows us to do then is once we see which lines are going to be parallel in the diagram, then we can start to determine which line or which angles are going to be congruent based on parallel lines theorems. Okay, so given all the slopes that we know that this line is parallel to this line, and we know that this line is parallel to this line. Okay, and also that this is parallel as well. So we would really want to put two arrows on that one. And now we can say the angles that could be congruent. First of all, you could say this angle and this angle based on corresponding angles theorem. Next, you could say that the angle here and the angle here are congruent based on alternate interior angles. Then you could say that the angles here and here are congruent, also based on alternate interior angles. And I believe that's it for this diagram. Nope, I take that back. You could also say this angle and this angle are congruent, also based on alternate interior angles theorem. Okay, so really, the key point here is first to find the parallel lines and then use your theorems of parallel lines to deal with which angles are going to be congruent. The next type of problem you would see on your quiz type of problem would be this kind, where you have a triangle and you're asked to find the midpoint of KL. So this is the midpoint of segment KL. You could use the midpoint formula, but I'm just going to go ahead and estimate it right now. And let's just call that point P. And then you could find the midpoint of segment BL, which would be somewhere in here. And again, I'm estimating. You could use the midpoint formula. And then when we connect those two, let's go ahead and call that point X. So when we connect P and X, that creates a mid-segment of the triangle. And what we know about mid-segments of the triangle is that they are parallel with the opposite side of the triangle. So we can say that PX is parallel to BK. So then you might be asked, what angles are going to be congruent in this triangle? So based on the fact that we have two parallel lines, you could say that this angle and this angle are congruent because of corresponding angles theorem. And then you could say that this angle and this angle are also congruent based on corresponding angles theorem. So in this diagram, the big thing is to be able to draw the polygon and then to be able to draw the mid-segment. Another type of problem you'll see on your quiz is something similar to this, where you have a bunch of angles named and you would be able to find the different types of angles. So to start with, you could be asked, what is a pair of corresponding angles in this diagram on, let's say, the different lines? Let's say this line K, line M, line L, line R, T, and I think that's all, yeah. So name a pair of corresponding angles on line, too many letters. Name a pair of corresponding angles on line K. You would say angles 13 and angles 3. Or you might say angles 2 and 16. Or you might say 4 and 14. Or even 15 and 1. Those are all corresponding angles on line K. Then you might be asked, what is a pair of alternate interior angles on line T? So you could say angles 5 and 9. You could say angles 8 and 11. And that would be all for line T. Then you might be asked, what's a pair of alternate exterior angles for line L? So you could say 15 and 10, or you could say 16 and 9. Then you would be asked, what is a pair of consecutive interior angles on line M? So a pair of consecutive interior would be angles 4 and 5, or angles 3 and 6. Then you might be given a problem similar to one of these where you're given a line on a graph and asked to A, write the equation of the line in red. So here you would write the equation as the form that we know is slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And m represents the slope and b represents the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is where the line crosses the the y-axis. So in this case, this line crosses the y-axis at the point 0. And the slope of the line, you could count boxes by doing, is you would go down 2, right 2, which is a slope of -1. So here we would write the equation of the red line as y equals -1x plus 0. Or really, if we wanted to simplify that, we could just say negative x, y equals negative x. And then you might be asked to write the equation of the line that is going to be perpendicular to the red line, passing through the given point. So in this case, we would say the point 1, 4. And here, if we want to write the line that's passing through 1, 4, let's go ahead and plot 1, 4 on the graph. So 1, 2, 4. There's the point 1, 4. And if it's going to be perpendicular to that line, that means the slopes have to be not only opposite signs, but they have to also be reciprocals. So the red line slope, remember, was -1. That means our blue line slope is going to be a positive 1. And then we would use that slope to just basically find other points on the line. So you'd say up 1 over 1 here, up 1 over 1 to the right here, or you could go down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, and there's my perpendicular line. And here, if we want to write the equation of the blue line, again, we're going to say the y equals mx plus b form, which in this case would say y equals 1x plus, and here the y-intercept would be 3. So we could simplify this by saying y equals x plus 3. Here's another example of writing equations of lines. So here we have a horizontal line. We know the slope of a horizontal line is 0. So here, if we wanted to write the equation of the blue line, we could say y equals 0x minus 2, since the y-intercept is -2 on this graph. Or if we wanted to simplify, we could say y equals -2. Now, if you were asked to graph the point that is, or graph the line that is perpendicular to this line, passing through the point -1, 2, well, first of all, you would graph the point -1, 2, which would be here. And then the line that's perpendicular to a horizontal line has to be vertical. So it's going to pass like this. And that's going to, in fact, create a 90-degree angle here. Then you might be asked to draw the line that is going to be parallel to the blue line. So parallel to the blue line means it's going to have the same slope. So two lines that are parallel have the same slope in the coordinate plane. And let's say here we're going to pass through the point 2, -1. So the point 2, -1 would be here. And if we wanted to write the equation of the line passing through that point that is parallel, you would draw that and you would say y equals 0x minus 1, because it crosses the y-axis at -1. And then you could simplify that to y equals -1. And lastly, you'll be able to have a problem, or a few problems actually, like this one here. And this one, you're given more information than you need. You're given a lot of information actually. And you have to be very careful about what you're saying is true in the diagram. So here, you would want to solve for x and y would be the task. And you'd have to use the idea that you know that the two lines here and at the bottom are parallel to decide some of the information here. Now, on this problem, you will find out that x equals 12 and y equals 17. So the way you would solve that in this case is really the only way to set that up to start with would be to set 6y minus 11 plus 4y plus 21 equal to 180, because those are two consecutive interior angles. Or you could start by doing 7x plus 6 plus 6x plus 18 equals 180. And those are also consecutive interior angles. We cannot say then that this is congruent to this. Oops, sorry. That the 10x minus 28 is congruent to the 8x minus 5. Nor can we say the 4y plus 20 is equal to the 5y plus 4. We cannot also say, so something that is not true here is that 7x plus 6 plus 10x minus 28 would equal to 180. That is not true because we do not know that this line is parallel to the others as well. So when you go through that diagram and you find out all the angle measures, you should get that this here is 89 degrees. This is also 89 degrees. 91, 91. You're going to get 88 here. You're going to get 90 here. 92 here, and then 90. So those are all the angle measures. The other set of problems that were similar to this would be in the another video that I've already created, which would be Geometry Section 3.2 Practice Problems. If you've not already done those, go ahead and look through those again, and that would be another great set of problems to look through. So this is your quiz review, and I will see you all on Monday.